My name is Rick. I'm the head of research at the rare disease charity Findacure, and this is Mary Rose, who joined the team 4 months ago now,
Yep.
I believe, and helped organise the event today. So I just want to really give you an idea of what we're trying to do in the rare disease space, and then hopefully that will give you a sense of why we're here. This is the team. Flora is our executive director, who's helped to really build Findacure up. Mary Rose, of course, and Lydia, our comms officer. We are a small team and we're trying to have a much bigger impact than our size might suggest. These are the reasons that we all kind of understand of why we need to be trying to make an impact in the rare disease world. Obviously, we've got over 7,000 conditions out there, and that is a huge collective issue, about 350 million people worldwide. It's an issue we think really needs to be addressed because despite this huge problem and huge proportion of the global population, we've only really got about 400 licensed treatments for rare diseases. That's not really good enough. It's a huge problem, really inspired by the tiny, fragmented populations of each individual disease. It makes it very hard to research on. Unfortunately, this leaves millions of people without treatments, and probably more scarily, millions of people left without hope of treatments. And that's obviously what we all want to change. What we have got though, and hopefully what we've all learned today, is we've got a fantastically informed patient population, a patient population that's really engaged and willing to drive change for themselves, as we've heard from stories from Kay and other people. And that's what Findacure really was set up to try and help encourage. What do? We do two major things, essentially. Firstly, we work to empower patient groups. What that means really is helping the patient groups that form and start off from either one person or a small group around a kitchen table, helping to give them the skills they need to grow their charity into something as big as, say, Ostrom UK. We want to try and make sure those patients understand how to talk to the pharmaceutical industry, how to talk to clinicians, how to talk to researchers as well, and how to talk to each other to build a kind of more unified rare disease patient group population. So Mary Rose will shortly tell you some more about the work we're doing in the patient empowerment realm. The second thing we do, which is really more my responsibility, is to promote collaborations with the aim to try and develop new treatments. And that's what events like today are about, to try and bring all of the different rare disease stakeholders together into one room to talk to one another. And hopefully we can see new projects moving forward from that. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Mary Rose before I tell you more about the science work later.
There is a chronic lack of support for rare disease patients and significant neglect by medical professionals. Therefore, patient groups provide a vital lifeline to patients and their families in providing them with information about their own diseases. But many of these patient groups have little experience, and in fact, many rare diseases don't have any patient groups at all. Therefore, Findacure tried to unite these fragmented patient groups into taking control of their own conditions and getting involved in research and medical developments. Throughout the year, we run 4 workshops and 6 webinars on a variety of topics pertinent to the needs of rare disease patient groups and charities. We bring the experts to them who share their own advice and experience. Alongside our workshops, we also run the training webinars, which facilitate the learning experience of the workshops without requiring commitment to travel to an event. Presentations, again, are given by experts, and we allow for group discussions where delegates can ask questions and share their own ideas. In September, we ran a survey with our rare disease patient beneficiaries to see the impact of our workshops. 91% of respondents believed that there was an ongoing need for the training provided by Findacure, whilst 88% believed that Findacure fills a gap in providing patient support and empowering their groups. Alongside our workshops and webinars, we also run an online portal which provides a central hub of information to patient groups and rare disease advocates. The online portal empowers and encourages the creation of new patient groups and allows for the development of existing patient groups, and ultimately builds the rare disease community by facilitating communication between its users. The online portal hosts a variety of topics at various levels, from beginner to advanced, including introduction to rare diseases, how to set up a patient group, working with pharmaceutical companies, drug repurposing, and fundraising. Ultimately, this larger community leads to a greater force that can create wide-scale changes within research and patient priority settings. Findacure also run a peer mentoring program, which was originally launched in 2014 with the aim to support small and struggling patient groups in improving their patient support and increasing their involvement in medical research. After the success of the pilot system, this was extended to run on an annual basis, with the 2016-17 program launching in September with 19 mentoring pairs recruited. The mentoring system is a unique opportunity for rare disease advocates to access expertise that's tailored to their own individual patient group needs, and for the experienced mentors to increase their management and leadership qualities. Mentoring allows the patient groups to access impartial advice and learn from the experience that other patient groups have already been through, which is really important. At the end of the pilot program, we ran a survey to see how the 2014-15 peer mentoring group had got on. And at the end of that, patients told us that they had been able to develop new projects, access new networks, and really importantly, improve their own self-confidence in taking on new challenges.
Okay, so the other thing we work in, as I talked about, was promoting collaborations and to encourage new treatments. What we want to try and do is have some practical, tangible benefit in that treatment area ourselves. So what we've identified is drug repurposing is a new area that we think could be quite successful for rare disease patients, and I'll try and explain why now. So drug repurposing is a very simple idea. It's just recycling for pharmaceuticals. So we go out there, we find a condition, a treatment, that we can reuse for a completely different condition, ideally a rare disease. And that means we've got a more efficient use of medicines, which can only be a good thing. Essentially, the whole process allows you to develop drugs hopefully more quickly and hopefully more cheaply than you see in traditional drug discovery. And when you've got some of the many other issues associated with working in a rare disease space, that can help. So you eliminate the need for de novo drug discovery. That's the posh and fancy way of saying coming up with a completely new chemical and seeing what that will do in the body. You don't need to do that. You're working with chemicals we already know, and we know what they do in humans. That knowledge is really crucial to making this a good approach as well, because we know how they behave in some humans. We know something about the safety of using that drug. We know about the side effects of that drug as well. If we're working with generic medicines, so medicines that are widely available and many different companies can produce them, they're no longer got intellectual property, then we have a really long history of human use, and that gives us even more information about our safety and the side effects, all of which help us pick a suitable drug for patients. Really, that also helps us to reduce the requirement for some of these early stage clinical trials, which are often about safety in patient populations. We can look at the information that's out there to avoid some of this work and speed up the process, which is crucial for all the patients out there. Another big area is the fact we know something about how these drugs work. We know that pathways of action in the body. If we know that, we can hopefully do some intelligent selection of drugs, just like Tim was talking about earlier. We can hopefully identify drugs which are appropriate for a specific disease quite quickly. We have a limited pool to screen, and then more quickly reach a treatment that we can deliver to patients. Again, speeding the process, making things cheaper. So that's why we think repurposing is a positive thing. The problem is, particularly in generic medicines, this is hard for the pharmaceutical industry to work on because they can't secure their own intellectual property on the drug, and they're feeding it into a small patient population. That combined means it's hard for them to recoup their investment in that kind of research. What this means is there's not really a lot of funding available for this type of project, even if there are great ideas out there, particularly in the rare disease community. So we're trying to come up with a new way to fund and accelerate this type of research. It's called a social impact bond. I will try and explain it now. Please come and ask me if it makes no sense later. The basic idea is it's an investment structure, if you like. We're looking for people with lots of money to put that money into the social impact bond. The idea then is that we can draw some of those funds to use to pay for clinical trials in generic drug repurposing for rare diseases. We want to select rare diseases that currently cost the NHS a huge amount of money but haven't really got a treatment that modifies the condition. Okay? If we can do that, what we're hoping is that successful clinical trials have potential to generate cheap treatments that are really effective for patients in the NHS. That's going to achieve their two big aims, making patients healthier and saving money. Good thing. If we can do that, what we want to do is negotiate with the NHS an agreement whereby some of the money we save through successfully repurposed treatments can be used to repay money back into the bond. That then lets us pay our investors back, possibly pay a small return on that, but more importantly, it gives us money left over at the end if we're successful enough to fund more of this type of clinical trial. And we can start to build a system to promote this type of repurposing research. We're working very hard on this. We're making a proof of concept study to show this is more than just pretty arrows on the screen. And we have shown that we can save the type of money we're looking for in this framework in 3 specific rare diseases. Long way still to go, and particularly we are talking to the NHS now about how this can actually work. Okay, so beyond the social impact bond, we work on things like you're at today. Okay? We run our own scientific conference, which will be on Rare Disease Day next year, so 28th of February, and I'd welcome you all to attend. We run networking events, which is very much what we're about to experience, and really today's showcase has spun out of the networking events we've run previously in Cambridge. And these are really intended for everyone in the rare disease community to come together and talk to each other, and not be scared to talk to a clinician or a pharma rep or a researcher, or even a patient, as many people might be. And then finally, something we've got going on right now is our student essay competition. This is aimed at researchers, biology students and clinician students at universities at undergrad level to try and get them to engage really early on in that point in their career with rare diseases as an issue. To try and answer different questions upon rare disease topics and explore it and see how they can possibly contribute in their latest careers to helping rare disease patients. So you can find out lots of this on our website, and I hope you have a look.